is the offer practice scenario that I posted in our Pumble. Um, and if you haven't actually done a practice offer with this one yet, that's totally fine. Just go ahead and do one after we talk through this.
Mhm.
Um, I like to just make sure that I give you some insights onto things that I see on the MLS. Some things that I think need to make sure that you catch as well. So that's what a lot of what we talk through here. Not just necessarily like how to fill out a contract, because hopefully the more you practice, the more comfortable you get with actually writing the contracts via zip forms. But I really like to talk through like some of the strategies, best practices, things that you might miss if you're not super careful when reading through the MLS description and everything. So first here is our buyer scenario. The property is in St. Francis and the MLS number's there. Um, Basically, the seller wants to close quickly. They don't need any occupancy. They're looking for the best and highest offer right up front, which to me says don't use an accelerator clause. So if you do use like addendum AC with this offer, I definitely would not be writing in an accelerator clause. Um, and then our buyer profile, these are first time home buyers, which are probably most of the buyers that you're going to be working with. First time home buyers, they're renting. There's a lot of flexibility in their timelines, which is good because then we can really play matchmaker with the best house for them.
I have a
Like most
question.
other, yeah, go ahead.
So, wait, what's the difference between accelerator and escalator?
They're the same.
Oh,
Some
okay.
people say, yeah, some people say escalator, some people say
Right,
accelerator. Whatever you call it,
right,
but yeah,
right.
it's the
Okay,
same. Yeah,
okay.
thanks. Um, so much like your first time home buyers, they're going to have a lower down payment. They're at 3.5% down. They do have a little extra cash that they can bring outside of their down payment.
Hmm.
So instead of being aggressive on their down payment, they can use that $2,500 to maybe do repairs or maybe do like an appraisal gap or an inspection gap, that sort of thing.
Mm.
This also tells us that they do have a little bit of extra money to pay for our buyer agency fee, which is 2.4%. So in a competitive offer situation, we might talk about, how much is that 2.4% based upon the purchase price? And then, do they want to use that 2,500 towards the buyer agency? Then maybe we're only asking for like 1.5% or 2% on the offer, knowing that the buyer is going to bring up the difference. So that is something that you can talk to your buyers about as well in a competitive situation. Which, honestly, almost every house you're going to be in a competitive situation on. So if the buyers can contribute to the compensation, it might be one way where you can get your offer accepted.
Mm. And then that is just them bringing more cash to close.
Right. Yes.
Got it.
Hmm.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So um, that $2,500, if they're not afraid to use it, can be used in a variety of ways. Um, so really think about like what will make this offer stand out based upon,
Hmm.
the condition of the property, other details that I maybe have, other research that I've done,
Hmm.
and that way you can give your buyer the best guidance as to how to utilize that $2,500 in a way that will really put them um, in first place.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. Um, okay, so that's a little bit about like the buyers and the scenario that we're going into. Next thing I want to go to is our MLS listing for this property. So hopefully everybody got a chance to take a look at this as well. Um, it's a little bit older house. It was built in 1942. So, at that age, you instantly start thinking about just the basic safety issues and larger items with the property, right? So roof, basement, siding, um, the furnace, water heater, all the utilities, electricity, plumbing, all of those, right? Like that's instantly where your brain goes, and your job is to kind of think, do the research and do a lot of the reading that the agent has provided for us, and when we're doing our walkthrough, to make sure that we're kind of checking off those boxes, like when was the roof replaced last, how is the condition of basement when we're walking through it, because if the home has been gutted, even though it was built in 1942, and they've put in all new electrical and plumbing and everything, then there's probably not a whole lot to be concerned about, right? um, and that'll also help us with giving that guidance to our buyers as well. Do they want to do a home inspection? If they do want to do a home inspection, maybe that $2,500 that the buyer has, we use it as like an inspection gap, where we say the buyer will cover repairs up to $2,500, and then beyond that would be the seller's responsibility. So the age of the home is really one of the first things that you should think about and recognize when you're out showing properties. And the more you do, the more houses you see and areas and neighborhoods, you're going to start to get a feel for the condition of properties based upon their age.
Got it. That makes
So then
sense.
another thing, yeah, go ahead.
No, I'm saying that makes sense.
So then I look at, this bedroom information and room information. You see that there's a lot that's on the lower level, so it is a finished basement. So then you're just kind of looking at, like, is there any water issues, anything to be concerned about? It's definitely harder to inspect a finished basement than an unfinished basement, right? Because you can't
Hmm.
necessarily get to the walls. You can't necessarily see everything behind the drywall. So a finished basement on an older home, just there might be something hidden that we'll never be able to see. Um,
Hmm.
and that's just a little bit additional risk for the buyers. Not saying anything bad's going to happen. It's just a risk that exists, right?
Right.
Another thing that I noticed though on this is under terms miscellaneous here, they're actually offering a home warranty, which is pretty cool. So the seller's already decided that they're buying a home warranty for the buyer. That's included in the offer. Um, so I'll show you when we get into zip forms a little bit here, how to actually ensure that that's included as part of your offer. Um, you know, 8 years ago, home warranties were a really good negotiation tactic, and a lot of times you can negotiate on behalf of your buyer to have the seller provide a home warranty. Nowadays, in the fast-paced moving market that we're in, we don't really see a whole lot of home warranties being provided by the seller. There's still definitely a negotiation tool past the home inspection.
Hmm.
um, of course, home warranties don't necessarily cover everything. They're like every other insurance policy, they might not pay out. However, I can tell you personally on my house, I probably use my home warranty 2 to 3 times a year, and it's definitely paid off for me. So, um, I think that in older homes, I find a lot of value in them. Um, so I think that's really cool that the seller has already kind of taken that conversation off the plate and said, you know what, I'm just going to go ahead and provide a home warranty. That's, $600 out of the seller's pocket. And in case something breaks the day that the buyers move in, they can call the home warranty company, and they're not calling the seller going, "Hey, did you know the furnace was bad when you moved out?" Or whatever, right? So, um, I think it does take a lot of it, it kind of dampens the ability to argue about things breaking after closing, when there's a home warranty that has already been provided, and they can just call them. So,
Yeah, that makes 100% sense.
it is on city sewer and water, which is normal for this area in Cudahy. St. Francis, it's you're not going to find a lot of wells out there.
Hmm.
And other than that, though, there's not really a whole lot that really concerns me, other than just ensuring that the age of the home isn't a major risk for my buyers, right?
Hmm.
So,
Hmm.
and there's some things that we can keep reading about and thinking about here. This listing agent actually does a really good job with uploading a lot of information into the documents tab. So, um, and I would be looking at this documents tab and reading all these documents prior to even doing a showing. I know we're talking about like when we sit down to write an offer, what are we doing and thinking about, but you really want to take care of all this before you ever go see a house so that
Mhm.
going in, hey, they mentioned something about there being water in the basement. Let's go straight into the basement when we walk in this house. We want to look at it, get eyes on it, and then we'll, if we're okay with that, then we'll look at the pretty stuff. But the pretty stuff doesn't matter if we're not okay
Mhm.
with, you know,
Right.
an issue. So,
Right.
um, so I like to just make sure I look at all the documents, I read them. I might send them to my buyer ahead of time if there's a good amount of time. If it's not like, hey, we're seeing this in an hour, I might print off things that are concerning so that I can just hand it to them for them to read. Or I'll text them and say, hey, just so you know, I want to make sure we look at this when we're there. Um, all those little things that you can do to set yourself up as the expert when you're on a showing is going to take your career that much further because not every agent does things like that. And
Mhm.
when you want these buyers to then refer you to their friends, they're going to say, oh my gosh, my agent was on top of it. They told me about all these potential issues before we even saw the house. And then when we got there, we were able to talk through them instead of like having to wait. And so then when we wrote the offer, we were really confident in what we were offering based upon, everything that we saw together on the showing. And it was just a really good experience. And I like, even if there's an issue with this house later, I know that we did what we could to prevent anything from happening. Like
Right.
to me, like that would be the best kind of referral somebody could give me that like I was there to really protect them. Um, I, just personally, that's how I operate my business. So.
Mhm.
So a lot of documents here for you to look through. This first one is the seller updates. And this is kind of more of a marketing piece, pretty straightforward. This is just a marketing piece on the front. But the second page here has all of the updates. So, I mean, 2025 refrigerator, garbage disposal, dishwasher, air, water heater, siding, flashing, a roof, painting, a new balcony,
Mm.
and then everything prior to 2015 as well. So, I would say, in the last 10 years, these homeowners have really put a lot of care into the house,
Right.
um, which I feel really just takes all that risk away. I would feel confident that, I mean, maybe the one thing they haven't replaced is the furnace, but we have the home warranty. So, you know what? If the furnace dies, we just call the home warranty company now. So, I
Mm.
I feel really, really good about this house for my buyers. I would be excited to show this to them, if it all, checked all their other boxes in terms of what they're looking for. I would bet that they would have a good solid 3 to 4 years in this house before they really had to worry about doing large ticket items.
Right.
So I think that just having this updated list with dates on it really just kind of settles down any uncertainty you might have had about just the overall age of the home, being that it was built in the 40s. Um, so this is definitely something that I would send to my buyers prior to walking through, or I would print it off and take it to a showing so I can be like, hey, just so you know, here's all the updates they've done. And then as we walk around, they can go, oh, yeah, this dishwasher does look brand new. Oh, yeah, this is a newer water heater. Great, and or they might ask me, well, what's the average age of a water heater? Well, and you could talk through things like that with them. So um, that's just this gives me a lot of confidence in this property. When I see something like this, it excites me. Um, if you're listing a property and you have the ability to do something like this, you don't have to do it with all the pictures. It doesn't have to look as nice, but if you can get a list of updates and put it on the
Mhm.
MLS, it's just going to make your offers that much cleaner. It's going
Mm.
to make
Right.
the inspection process go smoother. Right, like, it's going to really set it up for a smooth transaction if you can get some of this stuff out on the MLS.
Right. Versus people hitting you up every 5 minutes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
That's the, yeah.
yeah, that's a part of it too, they're taking amount of phone calls and text messages they have to sort through down
Right,
quite a
right,
ways.
right.
Um, this next document I thought was really neat as well. So these are the listing agent's instructions. So the private remarks in MLS is only like, I don't know, 250 or 500 characters. It's something so small that you can't really say a whole lot. So having an
Mhm,
additional document like this, I think goes a long way. It's important information about this property. So it's going to be tailored to the property. Things on here are going to change. Um, I think one of the biggest things that they do is acceptance deadline here, right? So,
mhm,
hey, we're telling you up front, we're accepting offers through Monday. There is a note that sellers can accept an offer prior to Monday. So make sure you get your offer in quickly if that's what you want to do. And then because because it's 285, right? Because it has a lot of updates, we can we can guess that it's going to go that weekend, right?
mhm.
So we know it's going to be multiple offers in that price point right now in this market. So they really want to see highest and best offer. They don't want to play around with a bunch of escalation clauses. They don't want to have to filter through them. Um, having 3 offers and 1 escalation clause is one thing. Having 15 offers and 10 escalation clauses, and you trying to figure out which is actually the best offer, it's it's a headache, and I get it. I've done it. I've helped agents through it. It's not fun at all.
Mhm.
Um, so I think there is something to be said as a buyer's agent for, just putting your best offer forward, especially if that's what the seller and the listing agent are requesting. Um, if you're going to be the buyer's agent that's going to go against explicit instructions like this, your offer is getting moved to the bottom of the pile. I'm
Right,
just, I'm just going to throw that out there.
right.
I definitely, if I have multiple offers and I'm presenting them, I definitely put them in an order based upon what I feel is the best offer. And
Mhm,
if you haven't talked to me, if you haven't outlined your offer in like a nice little cover letter in an email, if you haven't followed my instructions that I've explicitly given you via the MLS, if you
mhm,
didn't leave showing feedback, if you didn't turn the lights off and lock the door, your offer is going on the bottom, guys. Like
mhm.
I had the seller does take into account relationships. And I've had sellers flat out ask me before, like, oh, hey, have you ever worked with this agent? Um, and I want to be able to say, oh my gosh, no, but this agent called me. They're on top of it. They told me how excited their buyers were. We had a great conversation. They followed all the instructions we gave them. Like, that's what I want to be able to say as a listing agent about you and your offer. Don't give me a reason to not say that.
Right.
Right. Um, and then they give you information about the earnest money, so you don't have to ask about that. And then some, just information about the agent. So, um, but I do like all this information that they give about the acceptance deadline and anything additional that the seller wants. If they had a preferred closing date, if they needed to have post closing occupancy, you could put that in here as well. So if you're taking a listing, something like this is really smart as well to do.
Mhm.
And also you can like go ahead and come into this MLS and you could download these for your reference and then you can kind of make them your own from there.
Right. It's a good idea.
Yeah. So the home warranty, they went ahead and put up the home warranty brochure. This tells us that the home warranty was purchased through HSA by the seller. So it does include the cost of the coverage so that your buyer can, we could fill that out in the GMAR addendum A, and I'll show you that as well. So make sure that we get that information correct. But I think this is a pretty good. You can give this brochure, email it over to your buyers so that they understand the home warranty that the seller is providing for them and what coverage it is.
Got it.
Lead paint disclosure. This is the addendum S. There's no information on here, so basically the sellers are attesting that they have no knowledge of any lead-based paint on the property. So you want to make sure that you sign that and your buyers also sign that. And then last but not least, the seller condition report. I took a look at this earlier. There was nothing on here that stood out. Everything was marked either no or NA. So pretty clean condition report, which when I look at the amount of updating they've done and taking care of the property that they've done, I'm not super concerned that that they don't have any knowledge of defects. The only thing I would say about things like this is, they replaced the roof. Did they just do it because it was getting older and they felt like it was a good time to do it? Or did they do it because like it was leaking and they got, water in their attic or something like that, right? One of them's obviously a defect and the other one's not. So we don't really know, and we're not necessarily going to have that information. It If I was a seller and let's say I put on a new roof because it was leaking, I might still declare that on my condition report, just in case there were any other further issues that might arise from it in 5 years from now. You never know, right? But at least I can say, hey, we noticed a roof leak. We went ahead and replaced the roof, and there's been no more leaking, right? So not currently a defect, but know that there was a defect that was been remedied. So as a seller and like, a list, with my disclosure hat on, I think, oh, well, we should probably say if we remedied a defect, we should at least put that on the condition report. Most people, the general public, think, well, because I've already remedied it, it's no longer a defect. I don't have a defect to disclose. There's no like active defect, if that
Hmm.
makes sense.
Right.
There's no right or wrong way, and we don't give advice on how to fill out a condition report. So
Hmm.
in my real estate back of my mind, when I see all these updates they've done, part of me goes, oh, did it like the water heater just stop working, or was
Hmm.
there something that happened that caused the water heater to fail? And there's, like, I don't know, and I'll never know. And it's not something that I'm ever going to really bring up to my buyers. Like, I'm not
Hmm.
going to just give them things to worry about that aren't true or accurate or that I even have knowledge of. Um,
Right.
I'm just saying in the back of my mind, things like that come up. So,
Right. That makes sense. And then Kathleen, I do have to head out
okay. Well, I'm going to
right
keep
now.
going and we're going to
Okay.
record this so you can always jump in later.
Okay. Sounds good.
All
Thanks.
right.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right.
So next I'm going to jump over to zip forms and just want to go through it a little bit quickly. Don't want to take too much time because again, I want you to get comfortable with using zip forms. I want you to keep practicing in zip forms. We don't have to take the time I'm not going to show you how to click on zip forms. We have plenty of other videos, the compliance and command videos, the commissions and command videos. We're all about how to navigate zip forms at a high level. So I want you to watch those, I want you to get familiar with it, okay? But one thing I do want to show you is the GMAR Addendum A, because we did talk a lot about the home warranty that the seller is providing. And so we need to make sure that we include that home warranty as part of our offer. Just because it's on the MLS doesn't mean really anything. At the end of the day, the only thing that matters is what's on that offer to purchase. If it's not on the offer to purchase, it doesn't exist. So if the sellers are providing that home warranty, we have to make sure we write it into our offer as part of the offer, so that it is part of the offer. Okay. So when I say like, when I show you those MLS listings and we're going through all that information, it's because I really need you to be detailed and I need you to see things like that pop up, is the seller offering anything additional like a home warranty? And then you got to make sure you write it in. If you didn't, as a buyer's agent, and I was a listing agent, I'd probably text you and say, hey, just so you know, you need to include the home warranty, redo it. And I would make you redo your offer and resend it. I'm not going to counter you. I'm not going to fix it for you. I'm going to tell you you need to fix it and I'm going to have you do it. So just think about that a little bit as a buyer's agent. Like, just take the 30 seconds, go back through it again, read through it, and just make sure you got all these little details and it's all buttoned up. Okay. So on GMAR Addendum A, it's lines 10 through 14 that a home warranty is included. So you put an X in that box to include the home warranty. A limited home warranty plan shall be included effective on the date of closing. It shall be for a term of a 1-year period, provided that the property qualifies for the plan, which single-family homes generally do. The cost of the home warranty shall not exceed X dollars. So what we can do is the listing agent was nice enough to upload that warranty brochure for us. So the very last page, or kind of towards the bottom, yeah. So here's kind of all the different plans they offer. This is the basic plan is $520. Okay. That's probably what I would write in there. Now, if you do want to try to get your buyer the 7-star upgrade, which includes a lot of additional things like permit violations or improper install or toilets and things like that, you can add these two together and then put that as the amount. But for this, I'm just going to say that we're going to do the $520 option. The cost of the warranty will be paid by the seller or buyer strike one. So make sure that you are striking out the word buyer. To say that the seller is going to be paying for this warranty plan. And then the warranty plan will be ordered by either the listing or the selling agent. So this is probably worthy of a conversation. If you can, if it's super busy and the listing agent will get back to you, that's one thing. If I'm a buyer's agent, I would rather order the home warranty for my seller or for my buyer, just because I can put all the buyer's information in there, make sure they're covered. I just like to have the control. However, home warranties also cover the seller. If the seller buys it, or signs the paperwork that they're going to pay for it, that warranty will actually start to cover the seller when the listing goes live. So most likely, when you see home warranties that have been offered on the MLS, the listing agent has already ordered that warranty. Okay, I would say that's probably about 90% of the time. So I'm going to assume that because the seller is offering that home warranty up front, that the listing agent has already submitted some sort of paperwork so that that warranty will cover their seller between, going live on the MLS and the closing date. So I'm going to go ahead and strike out selling, which would be the buyer's agent, and leave it that the warranty plan will be ordered by the listing agent because it probably already has been ordered. Okay. And that's all you would need to do to fill out that section. If you, just on a sidebar, if you're like negotiating a home inspection and you want to ask the seller for a home warranty as part of your negotiations from the home inspection, like nothing's like super wrong, but like things are kind of like getting towards the end of their life. We feel better if there's a home warranty. Seller, will you buy us one? You can basically copy and paste. Sorry. Yeah. You can copy and paste this information. Oh, it's not gonna let me do it. Okay. You used to be able to highlight and copy, but you can basically take this verbiage and add it into your home inspection amendment. So you can say a home warranty plan not to exceed X dollars to be paid by the seller and ordered by the selling agent probably at that point in time, at the time of closing. And so you can kind of just take like that 1 or 2 sentences in here as the information that would be needed to be put into an amendment to include a home warranty later. Okay. So you have to know the cost, who's paying, and who's ordering. I'm just going to say that one more time. You need to know the cost of the warranty, who's paying for the home warranty, and who's ordering the home warranty. Make sure always that that information is detailed. Okay. Other than that, I feel like this is a pretty straightforward offer for my buyers. Competitive offer situation, you're going to need to go at the price that they're comfortable with. Listed at 285, they can go up to 325. So I think you're somewhere probably around the $300,000 mark, if not a little bit higher. They do have that additional cash. I would be confident that not a lot of issues are going to come up on this home inspection. So if the buyers do want to include a home inspection, I would be comfortable doing like an inspection gap on that home inspection using addendum AC. And then making sure that you just include the financing, the appraisal contingency, um, those pretty standard contingencies in the offer to purchase. So this one should be pretty straightforward for you. Um, but it's the home warranty, I think, is a little bit tricky if you didn't catch it here on the MLS. Okay. All right. Well, that concludes what we were going to do for this offer. And feel free if you wanted to write up a mock offer to send it to me. You can send it to one of your PC coaches for review. Just say, hey, I just did a practice offer. What do you think? Practicing on your clients is malpractice. So the more that you can do these practice offers, run these scenarios, think through these MLS details, even when you're looking at the hot sheet every day, read them, read through all those detailed pages. Don't just look at the pictures. Really get in here and think about what are the items that are included on this description and what would I need to think about when I'm out on a showing. Um, read through everything. The more you do that, the more knowledgeable you'll start to become when you're out showing properties to your buyers. So if you have any questions, feel free to let me know. Otherwise, I will see you next time on Offer Practice.